Hello everyone, let's discuss today's The Hindu editorial page. The first article is The Year Commences, but with deep foreboding. In this article, the writer says that in 2024, the geopolitical and domestic outlook appears unfavorable, with the war in Ukraine set to enter a new phase. Both Russia and Ukraine, along with NATO, may be tempted to escalate matters by resorting to more dangerous weapons, including nuclear. If Russia is forced to retreat, it would signal a major victory for the West, while Ukraine, plus NATO, would completely alter the politics of Europe. Key questions would arise about the utility of NATO as a bulwark against aggression. West Asia is the greater concern, with the Israel-Hamas conflict reviving many issues that had plagued the region previously. The Iran-Pakistan standoff has demonstrated that the conflict could set off a prairie fire across the region, which would have consequences for much of the world. Iran is also displaying an aggressive mien, encouraging the Houthis in Yemen to attack the United States and foreign ships, engaging in open warfare with both Iraq and Pakistan, and accusing Pakistan of instigating terror groups within their country to attack Iranian targets. The outcome is that West Asia is beginning to see many of its problems come alive, and US diplomacy, which has been largely confined to steps such as sending its 6th Fleet to the region, is making little impression. The Indo-Pacific region may appear less incendiary as of now, but several underlying tensions could turn the situation explosive during the year. The elections in Taiwan have produced an anti-China disposition, whose leader Lai Ching-te is on record stating that his mission is to defend Taiwan from intimidation from China and protect its democratic way of life. China is least likely to take kindly to this, though it may not be provoked into taking any preemptory steps just yet. An anti-mainland China government in Taiwan could act as a lightning rod, raising the stakes for everyone in the East and Southeast Asia regions. India's problems, both external and internal, suggest that 2024 may not see any lower tensions between India and China, including on the issue of the disputed border between the two countries. India must maintain a strict vigil as far as the China-Indian border is concerned and adhere to its traditional policy of maintaining excellent relations with all countries, especially those in the South Asian region. India may face internal problems in 2024 as elections are scheduled in the middle of the year. The build-up to the elections and the immediate aftermath could become a problem as the campaign propaganda of certain groups is characterized by a strong veneer of religiosity, creating a do-or-die struggle atmosphere. The Ram Janmabhoomi issue and the installation of Ram's idol in Ayodhya have become intertwined with the ruling dispensation's election campaign. The current campaign rhetoric across all parties is contributing to a sharp cleavage among the electorate, resulting in heightened communal tensions following the elections. Additionally, India may need to pay close attention to other problems that have plagued India in the past but have remained dormant. Peace in the northeast cannot be taken for granted, and other areas like Mizoram, Nagaland, and Assam need close attention. Left-wing extremist activity on the mainland should not be ignored, as its underpinnings and ability to resort to violent attacks remain. In 2024, India's parliament may face more than damage control. The final weeks of parliament in 2023 saw an unfortunate series of events that besmirched India's record as an upholder of parliamentary traditions. The year 2024 could also be the year of reckoning for India's parliament, with more than just damage control needed. The next article is a closer look at Myanmar's discontent. In this article, the writer says that in February, 3 years have passed since the army seized power in Myanmar, overthrowing a democratically elected government led by Aung San Suu Kyi. This coup prompted a massive civil disobedience movement, with the deposed members of parliament forming a national unity government that constituted the People's Defense Forces, PDFs, and calling for an armed uprising. The fragile peace between major ethnic armed organizations and the military collapsed, as establishing federal democracy was no longer possible under army dictatorship. Last October, an alliance of the Arakan Army, Myanmar National Democratic Alliance Army, and Taang National Liberation Army launched coordinated attacks on the military, inflicting massive losses on the military in the Shan state. Paletwa town on the country's western borders and a critical node in India's Kaladan project is currently under the control of the Arakan Army. Regions inhabited by the majority Bamar ethnic community, such as Sagaing, Bago, and Magwe, witnessed a significant spike in resistance, and the PDFs gained ground against the military. The military has failed spectacularly to strengthen national unity, with large tracts of territory conceded to ethnic armed organizations and PDFs. Reports indicate that the coup leaders have used firepower, even on unarmed civilians, resulting in significant internal displacement and neighboring countries facing refugee crises. The reasons for losing territory now have less to do with military incapacity and more to do with growing popular discontent. Reports suggest that the military finds it difficult to recruit even from the regions dominated by Bamars, who constitute the bulk of army personnel. Since the coup, there have been sporadic reports of government officials, doctors, and police personnel assisting the resistance movement. In the past year, a fair number of military personnel have surrendered to ethnic armed organizations and PDFs. China has a multi-layered strategy to protect its interests in Myanmar. On international platforms, China robustly defends the Myanmar military from international condemnation. However, various ethnic armed organizations on Myanmar's northern border have close relationships with China, and it is unlikely that the uprising in Shan State could have happened without Chinese consent. Beijing used the ethnic alliance to stamp out online scams and criminal syndicates that were fleeing millions from Chinese citizens. With the momentum of the ethnic offensive, the rebels and the Myanmar army agreed to a ceasefire. The next article is Ceremony, Substance India and France, built on past agreements in a show of symbolism. In this article, the writer says that French President Emmanuel Macron's visit to India last week was more about symbolism and ceremony than substance. The sixth French president to grace the Republic Day celebrations, Macron, stepped into the breach when US President Joseph Biden declined the invitation. In 2023, India and France had already sealed several agreements marking 25 years of their strategic partnership. They announced plans for joint production of military hardware, cutting-edge technology transfers, and new purchase deals for French aircraft, engines, and submarines. Diplomats had little time to spare, and many agreements were essentially built on the roadmap. Many of the agreements announced after the Modi-Macron meeting in Jaipur, including the Defense Industrial Roadmap, were essential to the partnership. These included plans for co-designing, developing, and co-producing defense hardware in the air, land, and sea, as well as a space defense partnership. The two sides signed MOU documents on agriculture, digital health, science and technology cooperation, and an assembly line manufacturing of civilian helicopters, Airbus Tata. They issued a joint statement on regional and international developments. While they did not demonstrate progress in other areas of cooperation, such as big-ticket defense hardware deals, nuclear cooperation for the long-delayed power project in Jaitapur, and small modular reactors, it is clear that each is a work in progress, demonstrating the continuity in a partnership built on mutual respect for strategic autonomy. The next article is Momentous Ruling. Israel must comply with ICJ's order to prevent genocide, step up aid in Gaza. In this article, the writer says that the International Court of Justice, ICJ, has issued a significant ruling binding Israel to prevent acts of genocide in its ongoing military operations in Gaza. The UN's highest judicial body has issued provisional measures after finding that some of the acts and omissions alleged by South Africa to have been committed by Israel in Gaza appear to fall within the provisions of the Genocide Convention. South Africa, which took on the extraordinary responsibility of making Israel accountable for its violations of humanitarian law, stands vindicated as the ICJ accepted its standing to approach the court and found its preliminary submissions tenable. The ICJ has directed Israel to take effective and immediate measures to ensure humanitarian assistance and basic services to Gaza. While Israel and its allies highlight the absence of an order to stop military action, it is important to note that the order is tailored to achieving the objective of preventing genocide, which includes killing members of the targeted Palestinian group, causing serious bodily and mental harm, and deliberately inflicting on their conditions of life. The world should encourage Israel to comply with the measures while carrying out legitimate military operations. Israeli leaders should avoid statements that may be seen as inciting genocide. The part of the ruling asking for a report in 1 month on steps taken to implement the measures can only mean that Israel has to demonstrate progress on the extent of humanitarian aid allowed.